This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, being 6 o'clock, we'll bring the Tilton Budget Committee November 1st, 2023 to order. We'll start with Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hey, thank you all for being here. Let's see, we've got Hall Memorial Library on the number 1 here. Would you like to address the planning? I mean, yeah, the planning board, but no. Let's try the budget committee.
Put your other hat on. The podium, or do you want?
Yeah,
the
you can either use a handheld. We just need to have it. Sure. I'll quickly introduce the board. We have Deborah Shepard, Christine Dembitsky, I'm Bill Lawrence, and Catherine Dawson.
Hi.
Hi.
Is that, oh, there we go. All right. I am Brittany Shanahan, the director at Hall Memorial Library. You want me to start by telling you a little bit about how we were founded?
Sure. I mean, we've probably been over this a bunch of times already, but whatever you feel comfortable with
Okay.
giving us a rundown or whatever. Or sure.
All right. So 1885, we've been around a little while. We were given as a trust from Mary Cummings Hall. She donated the Deer Park property, which is where the library rests. And then now we're still there.
How long ago was that again?
1885.
1889.
So
Yeah.
was that 125 years?
Yeah, 140. Yeah.
Oh yeah, 140. So one of our big goals for this year is, when we were founded, they didn't have different designations like 501c3 and all of that. So though we operate as a nonprofit, we are not IRS defined as a nonprofit, which discludes us from many grants. So one of our big goals for the coming year is to apply for that 501c3 status and create a foundation so that we can apply for more grants, to not have to come here every time, you know, we need more programming for funding, or more funding for programming. So our biggest shortcoming is pay rate. So that's where you'll see the majority of our increase this year is pay rate and programming, because we have gone through a few people in the last year or so based on, you know, other libraries in similar locations offering more money than us. And then our programming has increased significantly in the last year. We've seen a huge boom in patrons coming back post-COVID, and we're having a lot of fun seeing all their faces again.
Good.
You guys have any questions?
Sure. I mean, you're expecting quite a hefty increase in your services from, I mean, it was 1,600 and now you're expecting 2,300. I'm just wondering how that's on your community impact of our programs and services. I think it's the last page of the application.
I'm sorry, what question are you on?
Well, it says the community impact of our program and services, and it says number of Tilton residents and business who accessed your products in 2023 was 1,636. And then you're saying you anticipate 2024 being 2,300. I'm just curious what programs, or if, was that a misprint?
After that. Okay, that was based on our programming numbers and how we would be able to increase programming with more staffing and the budget.
Okay, I mean, could you give me an idea of how how that is effective? I mean, what kind of programming is going to bring in another, 50%, another 800?
Yeah, so a lot of our very popular programs are unfortunately our most cost prohibitive programs, which we have put out, donation bins for to be able to have those programs again. Like our paint and sip nights are very popular, but unfortunately, once you get canvases and the paint and everything, it ends up being, more costly than a finger painting craft with some teens and children. And we're also working on establishing a lot of makerspace activities for our residents because they don't necessarily have access to those things. So teaching them more hands-on things to help just build a more well-rounded community. And so unfortunately, those things are definitely in the higher cost bracket than like the kids programming. And the library hasn't fully focused on adult programming in the past, besides book groups, which we still have like five adult book groups happening. Yeah, which are very, very popular. And just so expanding the adult program offerings, which we've seen a lot of interest in the things we have done. We've done HML nights. So we open one night a month after hours, and we host a variety of programs then. Right now, we're actually, as we speak, we're closed to the public, but we're hosting a yoga and meditation, which luckily one of our staff members can do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really our adult program offerings. We'll be able to serve the adults better with a more robust budget and staffing.
Bill, I have a question.
Go ahead.
When you talk about researching the salaries that you need to be competitive, do you have a list of what you came up with for comparable libraries and like locations and sizes and what they pay for salaries, something that we can look at?
I have one copy. I don't know if you guys can make copies.
Yes, you can make copies. That would be helpful to know if you're comparing apples to apples. And then the other thing is the adult events that you do, like the paint and sip, wouldn't that be something you would charge an admission for?
Well, as a public library, we generally don't charge admission
But
for
you
anything.
could, right? I mean, if it's an adult event and they want to come in, I know those paint and sip things are very popular and they charge $25, $30, $35 a person.
But
Couldn't
then
you charge though?
But then that's prohibitive to serving the community because people who can't pay for it then don't get to do it.
Okay, but
And-
I mean,
But you're asking the taxpayers to pay for it.
a paint
Right.
and sip thing is kind of an adult thing, right? They're coming and they're having a drink and painting, right? I've seen
Yes.
those advertised. I mean, they're very popular, but people usually know that there's a fee associated with something like that.
So Morris Boudreau, I'm from Northfield.
I know who you are.
Darn, that's not good.
You're a citizen of the year this year.
Oh, that. Would you like my autograph?
I already have it. I already have it, Morris.
Well, I just wanted to say that I'm pretty sure about charging for programs. The trustees discussed that a little while ago, if I remember right, and we decided that that was not something we wanted to do, that we wanted to have it open to everyone in the communities so they could attend it, whether they could afford to do it or maybe not. Maybe money was tight. So.
Well, I can understand that for things like, reading groups and things like that, but paint and sip is kind of a recreational thing.
Well, but that's what libraries are. Is there a place where the community can come together? And so we're offering opportunities to people who can't otherwise access recreational learning opportunities like a painting event.
Okay, I can see that, but it's also the fine line that it's also the taxpayers' dollars too. So I can agree to disagree, but the other question is the makerspace
Yep.
thing. What are you talking about for makerspace? Like what kind of activities?
So right now, through a grant, we have received a 3D printer, a Cricut, an iron press. What else do we have? An embroidery machine, sewing machine. So things to help patrons learn. I mean, almost business starting. Just a hands-on activities that help people grow.
So if they would come in and learn how to do these things, it'd be like a learning thing, but they wouldn't actually make things for themselves to like sell or anything. It would be to just come in and learn how to do it.
Yeah,
They
learn
wouldn't
how
make
to
products.
learn how to do it, and then we would charge if they want to make, themselves something with our materials. We would charge that cost of the materials. Like if they want to come in after they've been trained to do something, to use just our machine.
So would you allow them to come in and use your Cricut to make 10 tumblers for them to sell at a craft fair? I mean, that's the kind of stuff.
Yeah.
How would we know they were doing that? So you would have some kind of guidelines in place for that? Because I mean, I'm just thinking again, if you supply all the supplies and they make things and they turn around and can, I guess I just want to make sure that there's some control over the whole process.
Yeah, I mean, it would definitely be restricted to, like a time period or like a certain amount. But they would be charged for the supplies that they used.
Okay, I guess that's all I have for right now.
Yeah, and I understand too. I mean, certain things like if you had game night, those would be
Right.
not expensive. And you
Right.
could get a
Which
lot of,
we
lot
have.
of public people in, but something like if you're having wine, that's a really extraneous thing that not everybody should have.
We're not having wine.
Oh, okay.
I know it's called pay and sip, but it's just
Okay.
mocktail kind of things.
Okay.
Seltzer in a flavor.
Yeah.
We don't have a liquor license.
You don't need a liquor license if people BYOB. You don't need a liquor.
That's true. So yeah,
Right.
it's really mostly the painting that's the cost.
Yeah. How much is this makerspace in your budget? How much have you got in your budget for the makerspace?
None. Everything that we have currently acquired is through the grants, because we do qualify for some grants, just a smaller portion
The
than.
grant would cover all the materials and stuff to get it up and running?
Yes. So it would just be ongoing costs as needed.
So are you like a 501c4 or something now, or no?
We're nothing.
Registered
We're just a
nonprofit.
trust. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
We fall in a weird "you're too old to have been established as anything" category.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think that's a good program to go for.
yes.
Yes.
Christine, yeah.
Back to the wages we just received.
Yes.
Which one are you comparing yourselves to? Because it goes from 20 something to 40 something. Are you averaging, or because there's a $50,000 difference in the budget that you're looking for, and is this all pay increases, or are you looking to hire people? Because 50,000 is quite a bit. Oh, what is your year end, by the way?
What do you,
Your year end, your fiscal year end? Is
For
it
this year?
12/31? Any year? Okay.
December? Oh, okay. Sorry. I was like,
Well, because the actuals were just till September, so I know there's a little bit, so I got the 50,000 from that, so I wanted to know when the year end was.
so the increase we're asking for is only 20,000 over last year.
I'm only looking at the line of wages. I see that you reduced other items, but you gave us this. How are you comparing, what town are we getting compared to? Or are you averaging, or, how are you getting these increases, and are you hiring new people?
We are actively looking to hire our other full-time person because they have moved on for a better paying job in another town, which is Bristol actually.
It's not on here yet.
No, they're not on here.
I think Laconia is kind of a fetch to compare us to Laconia.
Yes, they're much bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are the towns that are local to us that we've been asked to compare ourselves to in the past. So, I mean, I think, we're considerable population size with Belmont.
What is our population that we serve between the two towns?
Between the two towns, a little over 8,000, less than 9.
So we're about where Franklin is for population. Yeah, 8,927 is our population
Thank you.
in the back there. But if you look, our cost per patron is currently $64, which is significantly less than almost everywhere. We're in the top 25% best bang for your buck, if you will, in the state, besides the very small libraries in North Country. So if you see like the next one,
That's $64.
Cost per
if you look
person.
under card holders,
Oh, this is us
Yeah,
over
yeah,
here?
yeah,
Oh. This is Tilton. Okay, it wasn't Leo. Okay.
What is the proposed director's salary in your new budget? I don't think it's broken down in here, right?
no,
It's
it is
just-
not.
It's just 50,000, so I was like, so they're missing one full-time, and I wanted to know where they were comparing them
Right.
to and how they get to the raises, so.
Do you know what your proposal is for, you're the director, right? What
Yes.
is your proposal for your salary in the next budget, in this budget?
It's a 15% raise.
What would that be?
40. No, that's what it currently is. Oh,
15%.
so it's 44.9.
Thank you.
Do all of these average 15%? I got a yes and a no.
Yes.
Do you have a printout of that?
I don't think I have a printout of the individual. What is it? These numbers, Steph?
Oh, yeah, on the back. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I think it's
That's
the numbers on the
current, I
back.
think,
That's current?
or proposed. This fiscal year 2022, it's gonna be current.
You said that the director was going up to 45. So it looks like that yearly
Oh,
one
yeah,
is maybe the.
44.9, these are proposed, because this year, yeah, okay.
Thank
Proposed.
you.
I have it up if you wanted to. Sure, that was the director, that 44.
Assistant
That,
director.
the assistant director was the 44. I apologize. I have to kind of keep scrolling back and forth here.
Okay.
So the assistant director was 44.4. The children's librarian is going from 25 to 28.9.
So 29, basically.
Yeah. Desk clerk going from 18, we'll say 19 if you want to round up, to 21. The other desk clerks, same thing. We have 2 desk clerks. We have subs going from 5,800 to 6,700. And we have pages going from, we have 1 page going from $5,000 to 5,800. And the other one going from $1,100 to $1,200. And I think that's it. And then we've got a little handyman and winter maintenance guy. Huh?
Said the assistant.
Oh, the director, sorry. The director is going from 48,700 to 56,000.
And so Franklin and Belmont, which are similar sized towns, are a lot less than us. Is that because are they not open or?
I think their open hours are on there, but Franklin is severely understaffed. I'm not sure why. I mean, they don't offer much programming outside of paid performers. And Belmont is severely underpaid comparatively. I mean, it looks like a lot of their people make $14,
Mhm.
which is abysmal. I don't have the numbers printed for Bristol, but our person who went there just told me, I mean, she left to become the director there, making, $20,000 more a year. And then the town's just approved a $3 raise for each staff member. So their part-timers are making $19 an hour now.
I mean, it looks like we have a lot more people working at the library than a lot of these other places, but
Yes, but for smaller hours.
yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah. No,
Each of
three
these
full-time.
directors in all these other towns, what are their qualifications?
It varies between master's degree to high school diploma to bachelor in an unrelated field.
Do you know if all these other libraries are like a trust like you, or are they actually town employees?
That also varies. Some are registered 501c3s, some are municipals, some are city.
That kind of stuff would be helpful for comparison. Just so we know if it's apples to apples. If it's a town, it's going to be different. It could be covered under a CBA, it could be covered under a union. I mean, you don't know. Right?
Okay. Probably we'll have to just go over this and get back to you with some more questions. Because
I have
Okay.
one-
this
I
is
have
kind of
one
new
more.
information
Yeah.
that we
I
hadn't
have
had.
one more.
Go ahead.
Are the benefits 100%, or does each person pay a portion of their own benefits?
Each person pays a portion.
80,
Do you know?
20, 10.5%.
It's the employees percent.
10.5%.
How does that rate compared to the town? Just from your knowledge, Stephanie.
Just from my knowledge, our town, we pay 8%
Out of pocket.
for Northfield. Yeah.
Is it a similar plan? Is it the same? Is it still like,
They go through school care,
okay.
which used to be under Northfield, but then Northfield got out of school care, and I think the Pines and Hall Memorial Library is still under them. So it's like a pool, so it keeps their costs down.
I know about school care, yeah.
Yeah.
Where will this makerspace go? Physically in the building?
It's in the main section of the building, off the circ desk.
You realize you can't run a 3D printer there.
Why?
Fumes.
We use a filament 3D printer. We don't use a resin 3D printer, so the enclosure there isn't a fume issue with the filament, and it's also ventilated through It's a big room. You wouldn't be able to smell it. This is the 3D print, the exact same 3D printer that I worked on when I was a high school teacher back in Belmont 2 years ago. It's the exact same printer, so I've been through all that. I'm Steve, by the way, the children's librarian.
Thank you.
Steve.
I was also made aware as a community member that there's potentially an issue with people being in the library for long periods of time, coming in to charge phones, keeping warm. Do we have the beginning of a homeless problem?
I would not consider it a homeless
Okay.
problem. Most libraries, since we're open to the public and you don't have to spend any money, we do see homeless people come in to charge their phones and stay warm.
Do you guys
But-
have a plan in place if it gets worse now with the weather getting colder? Do we have any kind of plan to
A plan to what?
just kind of keep an eye on it so it doesn't interfere with residents coming in and stuff? I mean, I know
I'm-
some public
we-
buildings,
We have a behavior policy in place, so as long as they're following our behavior policy,
I just know that in some public places where in bigger cities where there's issues like that, they kind of have a sometimes a plan in place or a policy in place about time limits and stuff. Have we gotten to that point, or you don't think it's there yet?
I don't see why we would need, we don't have any sort of problems, so I don't think we would need a plan in place for that.
I just know as Tilton grows and I've seen more and more and more kind of problems with that kind of thing. So I didn't know if your committee or your board was kind of aware of it and kind of just keeping an eye on it. That's all.
Right. So I guess I could ask you a question. Being a public building, unless someone's doing something wrong, are we able to kick them out of the
I
building?
believe that I think you could talk to your attorney or talk to New Hampshire Municipal Association or someone, but I think there are, even though it's a public building, you do have a right to kind of control the atmosphere if it becomes a problem. I'm not saying it is, I'm just asking because I'm aware that Tilton is growing and we're getting bigger and we have more of those bigger city issues happening. So I just wanted to know if it was on your radar, that's all. That's all.
Boy, it hasn't been, but I think unless someone's a problem, I don't think any staff in the library is going to throw them out of the
Well,
library,
and
as
you
far as
guys
I know.
have, I'm just wondering, because I've heard rumblings through town about, more people using the space. And I just didn't know if it was on your radar, that's all.
There's parents out there that don't want to bring their young children in if there's a lot of, homeless people there because homeless people don't have a history. We don't know who they are or what they're about.
And it's
They are
children.
entitled to be warm and safe. But on the other hand, it's a library.
The only parallel would
And,
be, say, the rail trail.
Mhm.
That's
Right.
an open thing, and there's people camping on there, and it makes people uncomfortable
Yeah, well,
when there's people camping there that shouldn't be doing that.
that's a hidden place where people
Right.
aren't seen. So that's definitely a much more dangerous situation. I would say, if anything, we have less homeless people using our library than we have in past years. We had quite a number of them about 7 or 8 years ago. And I think there's just like 1 or 2 currently. And it's definitely, all my staff is actually taking training next week about de-escalating situations with mentally ill, specifically homeless people. So that's on my radar as I see that, it's getting colder out. And so there is a potential for problems always at the library. We do a lot of training in de-escalation tactics because we are a public place and there's a lot of public problems. So,
Good, that's, I think, one of
Yeah.
the issues with that. We want to know that you're aware of that. and
Yes.
That you're.
yeah, I don't know that it's specifically homeless people. Usually they just come in, they sit somewhere, charge their phone, and then they're off again. But I like to cultivate a very safe environment for staff and the patrons. That's my number one priority, is that everyone's safety is there.
So does anyone here at the Hall Memorial have degree in librarian skills or education? Or? You know,
We have a couple staff members getting their bachelor's degrees in librarians.
Science.
Yeah, a library science degree. A lot of them came from other backgrounds. The majority of them are teachers.
I'm just curious about the qualifications that we have there now.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, our
No,
pay
we
doesn't.
had a.
Our pay unfortunately doesn't lend
yeah.
itself to hiring people with master's degrees.
Because I think didn't we, the last librarian that was there had a degree, wasn't?
She did.
Yeah,
And then she left to go make more money somewhere
Okay.
else.
She lasted about a year or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's happening everywhere right now, so.
Yeah. Well, a degree isn't getting you money like it used to, unfortunately.
Well, in this environment, a degree gets you, the ability to go someplace else easily because there's so many job openings. So it's a good
Yes.
tool right now to get your best salary, get your best pay.
And the police department, again, is another,
Same idea.
Oh, exactly.
you know,
Yeah, I know
you're
they're
losing people.
struggling
Yeah,
to.
Yeah.
At the last Tilton town meeting, we just approved another full-time position at 46,000 or 48
Yeah,
something.
yeah. Okay, so any other questions? Anything else you'd like to say, or? We're going to look over this and probably come back with some more questions.
Absolutely. And I can get you more comparisons with that further information about how they're established, like if they're part of the municipality or
Yeah.
a trust or a 501c3. I can definitely get you more information about that. And
I think qualifications that are in these other, if that may be
Okay.
a big difference in
And
pay
benefits.
is actual having a, schooling that requires that. Yeah.
And benefits, like if they get 10%, 20%, if they pay the whole thing, because that makes a difference. It adds
Sure.
to the salary.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
No more
Anything else?
questions?
Anything else? No, we're good. Anything else okay,
No, we're good.
great. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Well, if it was a wine sipping painting, I might be in.
Bring your own.
Never know what's in the water bottle. Water bottle.
Okay, we have a community action program. Do we have someone here? Okay.
Would you rather use my closet or? That's fine. Sure.
Hello. Hello. So I am not Leah. I'm Beth. So it's nice to see you again. Leah has wonderfully accepted a position at the state running the fuel program statewide, which is fantastic for the state of New Hampshire. So yay her. Sad us. But so you get me again. I'm back.
And what's your name?
My name's Beth Hayward.
Beth,
So I
okay,
was
right,
here
right, yeah.
before and then Leah took over and well,
Okay,
now I'm back.
Yeah.
So I believe you have everything that I have in front of me. I tried to get everything that was requested. I do apologize for the last minute. Leah left Friday. It's been a little hectic with me taking this over. So we are requesting $12,000 this year. And you have your summary of services in front of you. Total services, not including housing, is a little under $300,000 for this past year. We didn't include housing because the rental assistance program blows everything out the water because it was just such a massive program. Like this past year, Tilton residents was $2 million. Like we're never going to see that again. We're never going to have that kind of funds again. Well, would not imagine that happens. And then the other housing program is 5,866. Those are much smaller federal programs, one time like security deposit, one time first month rent, those types of things in the other housing programs. So this year for fuel assistance, 149 household enrolled, $205,000. For electric, which is a discount off of their monthly bill, 126 households for $63,000. And then we have no weatherization was done in Tilton this year. That is first come, first serve. So we never have any idea where it's going to be. It really rises. People that have emergent situations become at the top of the list. And that's how the money is spread out. It's dependent on who needs what. And then we have some smaller agency programs for people that maybe are just barely over income or individuals that are over 65 on SSI or SSDI fixed income that need maybe one more delivery of fuel. So that's what that $3,300 is. And then we have our food pantry, Laconia Food Pantry. We are now back open in Franklin as of last month. We are at the Betsy Rowell building. So we are with our senior center and our Head Start center, which is fantastic to be all three places. Our food pantry is not open yet, but it will be soon. We are waiting on shelving and freezers and fridge, which you would not believe that they would be out of stock, but they are again. So we are getting them. So we will be able to offer another food pantry in the area that Tilton residents can use. Tilton residents can still go to Laconia or Franklin, depending on where they live. Probably depends on where they're closest. And so that is open 5 days a week. There's a full-time staff there. Her name is Gail Lyman. She's lived in Franklin for very many years. She used to run our Franklin Center many years ago, and she's now returned as her kind of post-retirement job. She just couldn't stay away. So she's there and doing a great job. And we just first want to say thank you so much to Tilton. You guys have supported us for the entire time I've been here. If we did not have the town support, we wouldn't be able to have centers open all of the time. It's really important for us to have centers that are open all year round and open full time. And that's why we are able to do that, is because we get that other what we call resource center funds, which is all of the 38 towns that are in Belknap and Merrimack counties. And so we are very appreciative, and we know everybody's asking for money. I sit at so many of these and hear all these nonprofits requesting, and I understand the situation you guys are in is very difficult because you have the taxpayers at mind and you're trying to do the right thing for all parties involved. So we are very, very thankful for everything you guys have done for us and continue to do. So please let me know what questions you have. And if I don't have the answer, I will get the answer. Again, I have just jumped right back into this, so I may not have an answer, to be totally transparent.
So now there's 2 food pantries in Franklin, right? The Twin Rivers.
Yep.
And you guys.
Yep.
That's typically only been one over there.
So we had a food pantry forever until we moved from the building on Elk Street down into the, the town hall of Franklin. And then we moved across the street and we had a food pantry. We'd just gotten up and running and then COVID hit. So there hasn't been one since 2020. But the plan was to bring one back because Twin Rivers is great, but there's a lot of need. And so we wanted to have another option for people.
Great. I mean, the only other thing I see that, and I always look at the services, that's why we ask for all the other towns.
Yep.
And we pay a lot more for services than, say, Guilford, who gets $494,000, only pays $10,000. And that's like 40% more services than we receive.
Yep. And so this is the hard part, is that, and I don't have Gilmington in front of me, so I'm not quoting that this is what they receive. But what can happen is weatherization. One town can get $200,000 of weatherization in 1 year. And so seeing these numbers is really tough because it can go up and down, which is why it's difficult for us to say, you're going to pay this exact amount. And so you're right, it does look wonky. I mean, the town of Meredith pays us a very lot of money for a very small amount. They always have, they've always supported it. Our area centers in that town, so that is another reason they give us a little bit more money, because we're right there. And so that is why you see these huge differences. We can't predict them. There's no way of predicting. And so for us to be able to budget, we have to have some sort of, like, okay, we know that Guilford usually gives us this month, we're going to plug that in. And we've had to readjust. We've asked towns for some more money this year, and we've received some of it. We've had some towns that have cut us. And then we've had a lot of towns that have stayed very equal.
It's just typically for us to make apples to apples comparisons.
Yep.
We need a breakdown like this for all the towns.
Okay.
Yeah. That would allow us to understand, okay, that's why we're paying more.
Yep.
Otherwise, we're saying, why are we paying more? Because you can't tell from
Yep.
here. Yeah. So if you could get that to us.
I can send that to you.
That'd be great.
Yep.
Yeah.
How many households total were served? It would have been, it also would be helpful on this. I know you gave us this sheet.
Yep.
But it'd also be helpful on this sheet to put Tilton on it.
Okay.
So that we can compare apples to apples.
Okay. And I will tell you, it's very difficult to give you a household unduplicated. We do not have a software that does that. And so as you see these towns, 257. So I took all of the fuel assistance household, all the electric assistance household, but those could be the same households. And right now we are changing that. We have just purchased software. We're getting there. So in 2 years, hopefully I can give you an exact breakout. So that is hard for me to say, but I can put that. I think it's in the letter for 149 Tilton households for fuel.
Right. I mean, like total. So what you'd use 149 to show how many households in Tilton were served?
I believe, but again, I don't have, I'd have to do some math. 149 is electric assistance only. I mean, a fuel assistance only is that 149. So it's 149 for fuel and then the 126 for electric. But the numbers you see of the other towns was me taking all of those and adding them, which is not an unduplicated number. So I'm just being transparent that it is probably less than that, but I couldn't tell you how less because we don't have a way to say like none of our programs talk. You know what I'm saying? Like our fuel assistance software doesn't talk to our weatherization software, which doesn't talk to our housing software yet. And so
I don't know how many households were served that weren't duplicated.
I don't either. Unfortunately, I don't have that number.
81 is the total for all these three. If
Right, but
she's
they could be
totaled everybody
duplicates.
else. Well,
Yeah, but
did the
she took
same.
the duplicates out.
No, I didn't.
No, she
No, I have no way of taking them out.
So what did you get for total?
281,
281 for Tilton for the 299,000.
149, 126, and 6.
Okay. That's helpful, thanks.
So we're closer to Alton now. It's not Guilford and Belmont.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
Okay, but that's what I would need is that a comparison sheet.
But Tilton should be on this list.
Yeah.
Let's
I mean,
compare.
So I can send you, it'll be separate, however many towns I can send you separate documents of each.
Okay.
Because what you have is what we send to every single
Okay,
town.
great.
So I can send all
That'd
of
be
those to you.
perfect.
Yep.
Yeah, that's fine. You can just email it.
Yep. I can do that. Any other questions?
No, you
Well,
guys
I'm
do
sure
a great
Christine
job. I
has
mean,
questions.
that your program is extremely important to a lot of people.
Yes.
I know that. So
Yeah.
that's why most everybody in here it's important. So
It looks like a lot more people in the last year than the year before.
Yeah. I mean, every service has, fuel assistance itself has, it's crazy the increase. It's really,
yeah. Oh, I know.
yeah. So,
Okay, thank you.
all right. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Oh,
I have a
wait.
couple. They're just quick questions.
Sure.
So the federal government funds the fuel assistance program, is that correct?
So, yeah. So the federal government sends the money to the state and then we are like the subcontractor to the state. Yes.
Do they provide money for any of the other programs? So where does the money from the electrical,
So the electric assistance is a state program.
is that the money when we get our light bill, it says you
Yes.
can donate? Okay.
Some of that. And then the other is, it's the PUC is the one that funds that. All the utilities are in, yeah.
And weatherization?
Weatherization is federal to state to us. And then all of our housing are federal state to us.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, the fuel assistance is federal.
It's federal, but it comes to the state. So unfortunately, we don't get the full administrative amount. You know, like unlike Head Start is federal to us, which is fantastic because there's no middle person, which makes everyone's life easier. We get more money to run the actual program. So
the money you get from the towns, where does that go?
the money from the towns helps operate the 6 resource centers, the staff, because with fuel and electric, there's not enough money for the staff we need. It just doesn't cover all of the staff. So it's staff time, it's keeping the lights on, because the majority of the money for fuel and electric is for the actual assistance. There's very little for the rest, the rent and the staff. And we went through, just like they said, we upped every single person because we were losing people left and right. So to stay, you have to do what you have to do to hire people. And so that's what yeah, exactly. And we have great people. People stay at CAP for a long, long time, but we saw that starting to go away because they could go down the road and do a much easier job and get paid more money. So.
Where's that job?
Good.
Well, the state just did a 10% increase because of that.
I know, actually, my wife's health insurance went over to the state because it's way better than what they were getting before.
Any other questions for me?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you
Thank
too.
you.
Take care.
Come on up, John.
Excuse me. I'll take the hot seat. Okay, but I have good news. Okay, we haven't lost any staff. Okay. We don't have to hire
We better
anyone.
not. Hey,
You want me to just tell you a little bit about?
sure, you could just give us, we know the program pretty much. We've all been here before, but It's always good to know what's going on with you.
Okay. Well, there is a fair amount going on. Do we really need this? We do need it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
We have to do it
for the recording.
Recording.
Okay. All right.
Try.
public.
Okay, so there has been a lot going on. There's been a lot going on in the state, and I think last year when I was here, we talked about that a bit too, that the state is doing a juvenile justice transformation. Again, trying to really keep the young people in the communities and out of the court system, and just getting community services. Okay, so how this affects youth assistance program is that we are getting a lot more referrals. Okay, and a lot of referrals that are still appropriate, but are kind of like a little bit more involved. Okay, young people who need various components of our educational services. And so, yeah, so I'm really busy. This year, I'm also too with the fifth graders being at the middle school. We're going to be doing some prevention work with the fifth graders, which I think is
Great.
a really good idea. I think that'll be time well spent. So I will be going into not only, I'll be going into all of the middle school grades, so 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, and working on prevention activities there.
And what do you do for prevention activities?
For prevention activities, okay, we do a program called Courage to Care. Okay, and that is really helpful, I think, in developing empathy. Okay, and laying some of the groundwork for just kind of getting along. Okay, we do an All Stars program, which really helps the kids kind of coming in the back door on decision making in regards to substance use and risky behavior. I do Courage to Care, which oh wait, I already said that one. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. Now I'm showing. I've been here a lot of years. Okay, I'm showing my age. Okay. Woo. Okay. One of the programs that I really am very fond of is called Why Try, and I'm doing that in the 8th grade. And again, it kind of gets them on board, like why go through all this? Why give your best at school? What how to go about this, how to really stay motivated. And so there's a lot. And I like that one because it has a lot of hands-on things that are short exercises that get the kids thinking, and then we process them. So I do that with the 8th graders. And then I do have one program that I also am very fond of. It's quite popular. It's called You and the Law. Okay, and that is also part of my decision-making program. And it really talks about the types of things we see at Youth Assistance Program, why people do the things they do, and how can you make choices that are going to be good for you and good for others. So yeah, that one's really
Good.
popular.
Yeah. And that age group they're all, a mass of feelings and thoughts. So it's good to try to direct them, or to sometimes just to let them know that somebody's listening to what your problems are.
Yeah,
And that's a big part of it.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, Bill. And I think too that it gives them a chance, because sometimes they come in the wrong. They don't want to be there. They want to be done as quickly
Right.
as they can. And their parents are like, yeah, that's right. In and out, and I'm like, oh, no. It's a process. Okay. I'm not going to keep you here any longer than you need to be here, but it's a process that you really have to sit and talk about it and think about it. And, go from the like, I know to now I have a skill, or a plan.
Yeah, that's good. And you don't have much of an increase. It's mostly in just the regular salary increase.
Yeah, in salary, I think insurance is a little different. We also made a plan, somewhat of a plan change so we're able to cut about 1,800, but I don't know if that offset, the increase. A lot of times we're putting in that, we're kind of taking an educated guess with some guidance on how that increase in health is going to be. Okay. So there's a little bit, rent has gone up. And if I'm not careful, I'm going to have to be paying for parking in the back lot. And I'm like, oh no, I don't know that we want to pay $50 a month for me to park. Okay. But we'll figure it out. Okay.
Bill, I have a couple questions.
Sure, go ahead.
So on the salary that he just brought up, it's 7.5% increase this year. Is there a reason why it's that much?
Good evening. My name is Jesse Reynald Smith. Some of you probably know me from being the former prosecutor of Tilton and Samberton. I now oversee juvenile justice, so I work for the Department of Health and Human Services, and I'm the juvenile justice legal supervisor for the state. I also chair Don's board. And so part of the reason why the board came together to present a 7.5% increase in her salary is in large part due to what the state has done. So one of the things that Don spoke to is the transformation that we have gone through. Statewide, we are seeing that 70% of our juveniles are actually being diverted away from court. So 30% of the juvenile delinquents that we have in the state are being recommended to court through a process called a CANS assessment. It's a child and adolescent needs and strengths assessment. But 70% of our youth now are being diverted to diversion programs. And so Dawn is certainly, she's already seen an increase in the number of kids that are being diverted to her program, but she's also doing this community outreach. And so her numbers are going up dramatically actually in our communities. And so we thought it would be best to increase her salary.
That's 7.5% from 53.4 up to 57.4.
It was typically been 2.5%. That's the only reason.
That doesn't seem like, that's like $4,000.
Yeah,
I'm looking at
well,
2020.
10%
Are
is
you looking at
10% is
actual?
5,000.
Their
I'm
fiscal
looking-
year might be different.
No, I'm looking at director's salary. Budget 2023 was 53.4 and proposed 2024 is 57.4. Am I not looking at the right?
No, I think that is correct, but I mean,
$4,000.
Yeah, that's 7.5%.
You want to give her
Correct.
more?
10% is.
yeah, because
10%
the
would be 5,000.
It doesn't seem like
Oh,
much
okay.
to me. I'm sorry. I guess I'm
we can up it to 10%. I'd be in support of that.
But what Dawn does, that doesn't seem unrealistic.
Well,
Sorry.
and the other thing is that Dawn, as I'm sure that this committee knows, is a one-person show, and that's very unusual for diversion programs across the state that are generally much more robust. So the amount of time that she's spending and investing in the youth in our communities is tremendous. Not to mention that she also takes on youth from other communities. There is a limit for the other towns that that aren't members to the youth assistance program, and there is a fee associated with that. But as a result of her advocacy for the program, we are getting youth from other communities that come in that that don't help with her budget.
What does that look like for revenue?
Yeah,
Where would I find that?
it's in here.
It's
It's like,
200 a
200.
person or something.
I mean, but on what revenue line would I see that?
I'll let Dawn speak to the actual revenue.
I'm not sure if it is right here, but let me take a quick look. Okay, I'm thinking roughly I pulled, if I'm not mistaken, and I can get back. If I'm not mistaken, and I can get back to you, Deb, I think it was like close to $1,200. Okay, so, and again, it's various programs. It's not all court diversion. It's not all substance misuse. Okay, those are my longer programs, but we do get a lot of kids for positive decision making and maybe anger management. So, and we also this year had, we received like, I think it was $1,500 in donations from businesses. So we're trying to work a little harder on our outreach to the business community. And so that has been a help too.
Now, you're not a 501c3 or?
Yes, I am.
You are, okay. So
Mhm.
there might be grants available to, I know it'd be the board that would probably be doing some of that work, right?
Right. And we do have, and I think it's in the paperwork, we do have one grant through the state
Yeah.
that we've had it for probably the last 4 years and are hoping obviously to continue. They are on a fiscal year. So right now the grant funds will follow through until June 30th of this year. And then prior to that, we'll reapply. Okay.
8,686.60.
Yeah. And that's just for that half year. So for the full year, you got
Double
twice
that?
that. Yeah.
So we should deduct that off the 48,353.
Northfield has used that approach now. In prior years, way back, it was always that the town funded it in full. And then when I put in for my quarterly, appropriation, I would deduct what the state had given us off of it. And that's how we did this last year. That's always the way we did it. Northfield took a different approach.
Well,
Okay, let's just leave it at that.
Pay taxes on the extra money that we don't have to pay. So.
Okay, so I mean, and I think the original thought years ago when we used to get the county incentive funds was that the state makes it very clear that yeah, you get this, but it could disappear at any time, and so that it was that the funding would still be there if the state had a change.
What's the SBIRT screening? You're getting a funding from somebody, New Hampshire Juvenile or something?
Yeah, the Juvenile Court Diversion Network gives us roughly, I think it's a little under 1,100. It might be a little over this year. And it's so that we continue to do the screening of the young people who are referred for offenses. We do the expert screening, which consists of about 8 questions regarding drug use and another 4 questions regarding mental health. And so it's an early screening. So if they're in need of things that aren't being addressed right now, we can make referrals.
What does SBIRT stand for?
Oh, goodness, it's been a long time. I'll have to get back to you,
Okay,
Bill.
just curious, yeah.
I heard a car alarm. I wanted to make sure it wasn't mine. I'm kind of on the end, stuck out.
What's your year end?
It's a calendar year, December 31st.
Any other questions? Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you all.
Yeah, thanks for your work. Okay, so.
This heat feels good in here. Whew, I'm gonna stay here. I haven't
Yeah.
turned my heat on yet.
Okay, so now we can go over the minutes.
Take last year's out so you have one.
I think I have a couple years in there, so I have to read out, but I like comparing year to year because then they can't tell me something different because I have notes.
Pull it out. Like a ninja.
Like, you said this last year? I wanted to point out,
We're
doing
doing
minutes.
Yeah, yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
And then we're gonna talk about each of the apps.
Yeah,
Well, I just
and we're
wanted
gonna
to
talk
give the
about
board
this
some
letter
information.
and what it was the one about the one
Could I
we're not
just-
funding.
Did that-
It's on the back.
Oh, the
Did you
proposed
Did
letter.
you get these? Yeah.
Oh, I haven't looked. Maybe that's the problem.
Yeah. That,
Oh, there it is.
Well, this doesn't have to do with the minutes, but I just wanted the board to be aware, these guys, the youth assistance program brought up something I was aware of, but it didn't click. So they're the only ones who mentioned it. Everybody's state of New Hampshire unemployment pretty much went down because the fund is fully funded. So I have, all my clients are getting letters and it's going, some got 0. They're the only ones who mentioned that.
Okay.
So
their liability
everybody's
is less?
unemployment is decreased.
Their liability to unemployment is less.
Yes.
So they're gonna save some money.
Correct.
It's not a whole lot, but
Some it can be.
Some of it is a lot.
Yeah, if
I
like
guess
if they
on
haven't
jobs
lost
that
any
are
employees, they could
couple-
probably get 0.
yeah, people that have turnover will have
That's the
that.
problem. Yeah.
I don't. I pay like 15 cents a year to the unemployment.
Yeah.
You don't have a huge liability, huh?
Yeah, I don't have a lot of turnover. Yeah, so. Yeah.
I think that looks good. I think the letter looks good.
Okay.
Where are we
Well,
in
let me read
minutes?
it.
I think it looks great.
Well,
The
that-
wording.
That's part of the
Spot
minutes.
on.
It's really part of the minutes.
Oh, good. Hey, yeah, I like that. Short and sweet.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
very polite.
Mhm. Any
Too polite.
motion on the minutes?
Motion to accept as written.
Okay, this is a draft. Did you have something else that you wanted to,
For the letter?
for the draft of the minutes?
It's a draft because it's not
We haven't
approved.
approved. Yeah,
Okay.
We'll
exactly.
take that word off once.
So
we
it's,
approve
yeah,
it.
so if
Right.
somebody had asked for them before.
I just
we
didn't have it in
approved
red
them,
before. It was
Okay.
always there.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Any discussion?
Who made the motion? Catherine? Okay, thank you.
All
Lady
those
on
in
the end.
favor, say aye.
Aye, aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, great. So, and Just other business here. Let's see, is there any public comment? Just. okay.
Hello.
I don't
Go
see
Steve,
anybody.
go Steve, want to talk? You need to motion the letter?
He said it was part
Yeah,
of the
okay,
minutes.
now, I was just gonna do public comment because it's on here, but then other business would be that letter.
Oh,
And I think we are going to send that to. See, I
We
have
have
a
the vote.
list of.
But you all like the wording of it?
Yeah,
Oh, I think it's
that's-
great.
Yeah, that's
Nice
good.
job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Where did it-
Short and sweet.
I had a list of those that we were going.
I think it's in the minutes.
Do we have?
I
didn't
marked them on
see
my
that
sheet.
in there.
But we have to vote.
Yeah, we have to vote about not,
Funding certain people.
Those guys.
Right. And then she can just use
Mm.
that.
Have an X,
So you
X,
walked up
X,
to it?
X.
Okay, here you go.
I lost my
X
Nolan.
marks the spot.
No, no.
While it
When-
stays-
Dollars,
okay, yeah,
too
I
much
have that
dollars,
paper here
too
somewhere.
while it stays closed.
Actually, I do have a little bit for other business. We received an email today from Lakes Region Visiting Nursing Association. They were wondering where they were with their application process, but all we could find was a letter with basically nothing in it, and through email. And Tim had written back that they needed to fill out the application and send in the 15 copies, and she said she would. As far as I know, nothing was here because I came in September
Who is
18th.
that again?
For Lakes Region Visiting Nursing VNA. Lakes Region VNA. They've never
come before us
applied
before.
before.
We never seen him before.
Right,
We
but
never received an application.
but all they sent in was a letter on August 30th. And so do you want me to just tell them that it's too late for this
Timelines.
year? And then next year, make sure you do
Sure.
the complete process?
Our
Okay.
records indicate that we
Perfect.
never received an application,
Right, okay.
Before the deadline.
but feel free to apply again next year, but.
Okay, thank
follow the
you.
Process.
I know I have the
Thank you, but thank you.
paper that you have.
We had a
here
list, right?
somewhere.
You have a list, right? I have
I
a
No,
list.
I
I marked
just
down,
want to find mine.
if I could find my list. Oh, right here, my list with all my notes. I got it. All the written, crossed out ones.
I also have just a basic list if you want, if that's easier to read. I don't know. That's
We could put it in minutes. I found that list too. You probably have that too,
Bill
Christine.
needs a binder.
That I can't find it. Well, I always think I'm organized and then I can't find anything.
You are until you're not.
Organized
Right.
chaos.
Hmm.
Catherine has the list, don't you?
Yep.
When you end
This
up
folded
approving,
stuff, Does this
Yeah.
matter?
Let's see, maybe that's it. Yeah, actually,
Seems like the only one that doesn't have it is our
I think that's
chairman.
where I folded it. There it is. Thank you.
Ta-da!
We found
I found it. I
it. Okay, so,
don't think I have that list. Yeah.
You should.
we were deciding not to fund,
Well, we have to vote on it.
Greater Lakes Child Advocacy, CASA, Lakes Region Mental Health Center. Is that it?
Yes.
Yeah, the other ones had
We
no
decided there was no
applications.
need for Park Cemetery and that old home day committee. We don't need them to come in.
Right.
Right, this is not about coming in. This is about funding right now.
Right. So.
Don't
Well,
confuse
we're
them.
gonna
we have a
fund those two.
motion For that,
For those three, motion to
not fund them.
not fund Great Lakes Child Advocacy, court-appointed special advocates, and Lakes Region Mental Health Center.
Second.
Okay, and that, we will send them that letter. And any other discussion?
I think the letter is great.
Yeah, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. And then, yeah, the other thing is that we could also send a letter to Park Cemetery and Old Home Day that we will be approving their budgets.
you want me to
We gotta
write something
vote
up
on
for
it,
that
right?
too?
We need to vote on that, yeah. That,
Make a motion to fund Old Home Day and Park Cemetery for the requested amount.
Second.
right, any other discussion?
I'd like to increase our amount. No, I'm kidding. Since you're in such a giving mood.
Yeah,
No, no questions, seriously.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, unanimous.
Pressure's off.
All right, so,
Should ask for more, damn it.
So then we have the 3 today.
Deb, would you like me to send you a letter or?
all right, so next week we have Twin Rivers and the rec and
I gotta
VNA.
get used to it. I'll have it forever.
The only
So
other thing
last
is,
visit-
is there anything, any discussion on the groups tonight that we need to?
Are we waiting for information on all of them?
So, yeah, so.
I have a question.
We're gonna get some information from the hall on the,
Yeah.
what were we getting from them
More information in their comparisons.
in qualifications?
Yeah, qualifications, qualifications, it was, like their
2 or 3 things.
hour, like the
Are they,
hours and
are they
stuff.
municipal or not?
Are they
So-
municipal?
Oh,
or
yes,
not?
yeah.
Are they
Oh, yeah.
separate entities?
And if they're 501c3s?
Yep.
So I may be confused, but when she was reading off the pay that they currently have, that they're increasing to, the pay that they currently have, as I'm following through this and just, reading each one, I'm looking at it, reading it, that's not what I've got.
This is not their proposed pay, apparently.
Yeah, we thought it was. 'Cause
So maybe we
she
should
messed
ask
up
for
with
that.
Current.
Wait, she said this was current,
Yeah,
so it should be the director, head librarian's yearly pay gross should be 44,990.40.
but she said that was
But
the
it's
assistants
currently.
by she put director
We
head.
should ask them for that.
Because she said the
current
director
pay,
is 48.7 and wants
proposed pay.
56.
We should ask them to break that down and submit that. What they currently pay each position and what they're proposing to pay each position.
So then this document, it really is worthless.
It is.
Is that what because that's what my mind is saying. This is,
Well, it was nice to compare to these towns because they want the highest end.
but
When-
if what she's got down for Home Memorial Library isn't even correct.
And I'm sorry, but we do not compare to Laconia. Laconia is a city.
Or Meredith.
Well, or
Meredith.
Meredith or Franklin.
I mean, Bristol should have been on there at least comparable more than Laconia and Meredith.
Yeah.
Franklin is a city.
Belmont, Franklin, that's 28, it's 26 and 35.
Is there a reason we don't have an audit from them?
We should have an audit.
We don't have audited financials from the library.
Oh,
We should have an audited financial from the library.
yeah, we could request that.
And I'm sorry, but I have a problem. I have a problem. I want more information about this whole makerspace thing. You're gonna take a grant and buy all this equipment, and then you're gonna let people come in and make stuff and potentially sell the stuff. I mean, somebody could go in there, a crafter could go in there and bring 10 little, coffee cups with them and use all their materials and decorate these coffee cups and turn around and sell them at a craft fair.
Yes.
I mean, that's ridiculous. That's not what a library is about.
Right.
I can understand if you want to hold classes to teach people how to do this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And for a class, they get to make a mug or they get to make a t-shirt or something. That's great. But to go in and use their facility to make products to sell.
Did she say they were charging for materials?
And there's no
That's what she
program
said.
fee.
Maybe charge,
Maybe.
we'll work out a way to charge them for the materials. I'm sorry, but that Cricut material stuff is expensive.
Right.
I mean, I teach them the skill, but then they take the skill and they go buy their own equipment and do their stuff. I don't think it should be turned into a little factory space for them to make product to sell and make money. I don't think that's right.
I don't know why
Well,
they
and
didn't buy
it's-
more books or something.
It's nice
Do
that they're
library
thinking
stuff.
of ways of getting people into the library.
Right.
But,
But it's educational. It's not necessarily a commercial.
right, and I agree with it.
Yeah.
They should be charging
And it's-
program fees.
I
You're
don't,
coming in for a sip and paint. People love that kind of stuff. You could make $35, $40 a person to come in with a group of girls and have
Easily.
a fun night painting and bringing their own beverages
Right.
with them. But
And if
for
you only charge 20 to cover supplies.
it cover the materials, right? But I'm just, everything doesn't need to be free at the library because it's a library.
right.
Reading programs and things like that should be free, but
I
extra
agree.
stuff to get
Mhm.
people in, there should be a charge to it.
Right. If they're
Pines
going,
Community charges for extra events.
I think it's great that they're trying to include the community, but then again, it there's a cost to that, yeah. While the educational portion is free, but this, if they're gonna be creating,
They're gonna be making
different-
items that they can take home and sell.
right.
We shouldn't be
yeah. No, I
putting
mean,
that
yeah.
cost. I
So-
know what
We should
maker
go there.
spaces are. We're trying to do maker space at the prison, right? We're teaching people how to make
Right.
things.
So
But-
it's hard on this to understand when they have card holders. I mean, yeah, so the cost per person is really big because they have no card holders. But that's not an accurate way of saying.
You don't have to be a card holder to go sip
You don't have to be card holder to go to the library. So if you look at the population, to me, of the town and the library, it's more of a better rule of thumb. And I mean, like Belmont and Franklin are similar to our populations, and they have much lower costs.
And then I did bring up the homeless thing because I have been made aware of it. I talked to the chief and he said they did have an incident where some kids were not comfortable going in the library
Yep.
because, I mean, I understand we're a public place, it's a public space, but you still have the right to, control who comes in and out of the place, right? It's supposed to be a place for families and children to go and be comfortable.
Not vagrancy.
Well, I mean, if they come in and charge their phone, okay, but they don't need
Then
to stay
go.
for 4 hours.
Yeah.
But you're right, and it was annoying that they couldn't understand what you were
I
saying.
didn't
We're
want to
just
understand
coming.
it.
One or two people that are not interested in the library's functions is fine. But if you had 20 or 30, all of a sudden, wow, this is a place we can go and be warm, and they have this and
Use
they
the
have that.
bathroom and
Well,
charge
now
their
it's
phone.
become disruptive to the library's function for those who support it. So they have every right to control that.
Well, it sounds like they had
Entity
that issue.
control.
But
Well, she
they're
said
not.
it wasn't an issue, but they're forming a
No,
group
they
that-
said like 5 years ago, they had that issue where there were a lot of people just going in there and camping out.
But it
all
was
day.
more of it was more of they have incidents. It wasn't the numbers.
But it's
Because
not on
she
their,
said that they weren't thinking, it wasn't a concern.
and it's not on their radar, but they're taking a class about.
Yeah,
It's
she
on your
said that
radar.
after, so I wonder if that was just to cover, because why didn't she say they were having training well into the conversation before that? It all of a
It's
sudden
just-
came up.
It's just,
Training
the public
tomorrow.
is supporting that building. We need to make sure it's a safe place for people to go.
Well, regardless of whether they're homeless or a motorcycle gang or
Right.
crazy farmers, people going in there and congregating to the point that people going in there and using it as a library cannot, because the other has, taken it over. That can't take place, and she should have been aware, they should have a plan in place. How are they going to address that? How are they going to address that? Are they 20 or 30 homeless people in there, or
Come off the
whoever?
rail trail. They come
And
off
now
the
they're
trail.
roaming around into, where the
As
young
long as
kids go and et cetera, and making, young mothers or whatever uncomfortable.
They sit on the lawn.
I
They
mean,
sit
I
out there
make
for
people
hours on the
uncomfortable,
lawn.
so it's not just homeless, but you see what I'm saying? I found that annoying. Mental health is an issue for everybody. It's not indigenous to homeless people.
No.
It's everybody.
But there's resources out there for people when it starts getting cold and they can't go, they need shelter and stuff. There's
That's right.
resources. It shouldn't
They
be at
should
the
have
library.
a list prepared to try to help
Right.
people
Right.
with issues,
I don't know. I just think it's Tilton is growing and it's becoming more of an issue that we need to be aware of it in our public spaces. I mean,
Well, it may never happen, but it could happen, and if
just
they're
because
not
you're
ready,
public doesn't mean you have to let everybody in the
shame
door.
on them.
Well, and they're a little more vulnerable, not like town hall.
Right.
You're not going to have people walking in there just hanging out there.
Yeah, we do.
They come in and charge their phones.
I mean, that
I mean, actually, we do.
the reason the library is there is
It's the
space
bathroom.
to go in,
Thank you.
sit down and
Read.
read or just spend quiet time. I mean, that's really, and that they're trying to expand into more of community learning opportunities is great. But I think it has to be within
Under
the
the library
framework
umbrella.
of a library. Otherwise,
I
there's a-
remember a taxpayer that was complaining about, and this is just what makes me think about this. We had a taxpayer complaining about the Island Park series, the concert series. Why are the taxpayers paying for people to go listen to music? And I mean, of all the things to complain about, right?
Right.
So, but I don't feel like I, as a taxpayer, should be paying for you to let somebody come in and use your equipment to make items that they're going to sell at a craft fair. I don't think that's right.
No.
Train them how to use the equipment, sure, so they can go buy it and do it at home.
Sure.
But it shouldn't be coming in there making 20
And actually
mugs
doing it.
and
Right.
paying you $3 for the materials and then going out and making $10 on each one.
Yeah, we agree on the educational
The educational
aspect,
part, but the
but
actually
not
coming
the
in and doing it.
commercialization of it.
And if you're going to do that, you need to have a policy. You need to show what your costs are. Your costs are the overhead, your electricity, your materials, your time.
Yeah.
We're paying your salary and you're going to sit there and help somebody make crafts to sell at a craft fair?
So is that
I'll be down.
part of the things we asked from them?
I understand that the money they're getting is a what does she call it?
Grant.
A grant, okay? But it's just like any other grant. Once you have it, how are you going to support it? We get grants for police officers, but then after 3 years, they're on our salary, they're on our line items, they're
Right.
on our benefits, right? What's the outcome of this grant? You know, the grant should be to teach people how to use it, like hold actually structured workshops to teach people how to use it. And then you're not using it constantly, so it's going to die in 2 years, right? If you use it just to teach people, it's going to have a longer life.
Well, and if they track, the cost,
Right.
they can charge a fee that's going to support the cost of it. They don't have to make a profit on it.
Right,
But
right.
at least,
Mhm.
the cost of using it. And
But I guess I think they should teach
the
people how to,
taxpayers shouldn't be supporting that.
they should teach people how to start a business using these things, but they shouldn't support their business
Yeah.
at the library.
But I'm sitting here wondering, is that the purpose of the library?
No.
Well, I
No,
was
it's
a little
not.
confused, I'd asked how, with the big increase that they're expecting of people. I said, what are those programs? And I didn't really feel that I learned what those programs were. I don't know, does anyone?
I agree with you. I had already kind of made up my mind. That's why I didn't question them, because do you realize that's almost 60% of the town's population? That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal to have that kind of support.
Right.
I mean, we probably only see that at Old Home Day.
Well, I mean,
And maybe
If
the
it's not
Christmas
raining,
they didn't seem to really know about that increase on their application.
That was frightening.
Yeah, so I was a little confused with that, but.
I mean, a 3D
it's all
printer, that's
salary.
not cheap. The material, the ink
Well,
and
no,
stuff.
they expect their customer base to come up from.
Oh, yes.
From.
Yes, you brought that up.
From
yeah.
1,600 to 2,300, which is
And they
like
were like, "Where's
50%
that?"
increase.
Yeah.
In.
They didn't fill that out correctly, it's obvious.
They didn't really explain
From
that to me.
1636 to 2,300.
Yeah, I said, and how are you going to do that?
Just Tilton residents.
And
That's just Tilton, yeah.
Yeah, and how are you going to do that? So they
In
really
the
didn't-
maker's corner.
they didn't seem like they really knew that was it written in there.
Do we
Okay,
have timelines on them, people, they're getting us back this information?
well, as quick as possible, I'm sure, but
Well, the next meeting's booked up with the other three, but then we
Right.
could have,
So if they don't
I
get it
guess,
to us
Sue,
for
you
that.
could just send them an email or something saying, I'm just reiterating what we, after you do the minutes, you
Yep.
have an idea of.
We
you
should
could-
have
you
that
could just,
information next week.
yeah, you could just say, I'm just
But I was
reminding
thinking-
you of what we were asked of you.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to know what the Makerspace grant, what the amount of that grant is. I don't know if I saw it in here.
No, there's
Not
no
in
line
there.
item for
Yeah.
that.
I didn't
I
even
mean,
see
what's
it
the
in
line
there.
item for grants?
And if they're not a 501, who gave them the grant?
And CAP, we just wanted basically comparisons of all the other towns. Yeah, okay.
And also the audit for the library.
Okay, yeah, we would like, we should, that's something that we didn't bring that up, but, and
I'll
audit.
listen to the whole thing and make sure I get everything
Yeah,
down
yeah.
there.
I mean, I guess how
Well, you
hard
didn't like
is it
that
to
it ended
apply
in
for a
February.
501c3?
Report.
How hard
Oh,
is
the
it to
CAP,
apply?
yeah.
It's not.
Well,
So why
But
is
the
it something we're gonna do in
discussion
the
years
future?
I
past
don't-
at the trustees was because how we
they
were set up
have a
originally,
lot
we
of money,
can't.
so, I mean,
And then all
And
of
then
a
she
sudden they
said-
but I
can't.
understand
These are
what,
all
how
paid
they're
for.
doing
area,
it.
so-
They're trying to support their
But they should
centers
try to do it
with
because
local money.
Yeah.
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 Could open a lot of doors for them apparently.
It absolutely could. I'm glad they're looking at
Well,
that.
And I just want to make sure that we're paying apples
But then
for
how does
apples,
that do
because
with
every,
municipalities?
for years, I've seen them asking us for more money than other towns, and I don't know why. VNA does,
No, you're right.
VNA does the same thing.
Yeah. They have some calculation that's just not, you can't see it on paper, why we're paying more
Right.
than a town that's
Yeah.
small, that's bigger than us, that has more services. We're paying more than them.
Because that's what we've been given until we started cutting it down.
Right, right.
On the youth assistance program, because we're going to be, she didn't want us to deduct like Northfield does, the amount that they're going to deduct for us, which I think we should deduct, because why would I want to pay taxes on 48,000 when they only need 30,000?
Because we can't, if we don't raise and appropriate it and they don't get the grant,
Well, they got half already.
right, but if they don't get the other half, where do we get the money from to pay them?
But like she said, we can raise and appropriate it.
Bottom line,
But
but
we
then-
pay taxes on what we raise and appropriate.
We do, but it goes back in the budget if we don't spend it.
And the selectmen put it where they want.
I know, but there's no guarantee
Right.
they're gonna get it. So the person that
That's
pays
just the way
the,
it is.
if you don't raise and appropriate, the only person that suffers is that agency if they don't get their money.
Right.
Which, I mean, if you look at the dollar amounts, it's not a huge amount. It's not gonna have a huge impact on our
It's
tax.
17,373.
Right, and how much is that per taxpayer?
It's less than a penny.
Yeah.
That's, I'm just saying, it's better that we raise and appropriate than not give it to them. I don't know.
But if they already have for the first half,
I don't have a
To
problem
confirm
with
that.
per budget so much as some of the bigger organizations, because they do a lot with what we give them. I feel like they do a lot.
I
with
know
the
I
money we
love
give
her.
I mean, you could cut it out and then, because typically at the end of the year, you could talk to Tim. There's money left over in the budget. It's usually, because people leave. It's from
them.
payroll
Your
and stuff.
salaries or your benefits and things
Right.
like
I mean,
that.
it just works that way. So you probably could find that 17,000. But I'll tell you, if it's not in the budget, you probably have a board of selectmen now that would pay it.
Yeah.
But
you
in
don't-
years
you
to come,
always
you don't
will.
know
Yeah,
from
yeah,
year to
right.
year.
You have to give her credit for subtracting it off her request when she
She's the
does it
only one who
quarterly.
reported
She's like the only one that does that.
unemployment.
Pretty honest about it.
Yeah.
She's very honest
Very
about it.
open, very open and honest budget.
Yeah. A lot of people would just keep submitting it and getting the quarterly payment and not tell you that they got extra
Yeah.
grants. I mean, I'm sure there's agencies that get grants that we don't know about when they file their application, and we don't
Yep.
see that at the end of the year.
What's interesting, if you look at CAP's application, they say, what other funding sources do you have? No other funding sources. I mean,
Gets
I
all the
know
money
that the
from the
federal
state.
government
Right.
funds those, and I know that the electric company funds that, public utilities.
Right.
But those are other funding sources.
And they get donations, people leave things in their will.
Why would they
right?
do that? But anyway, yeah, so no, you could cut that, but
For her agency, I wouldn't, because I think that she's honest. She's honest to us, and it's better that she doesn't get shorted. I think she runs a pretty tight budget.
I like her.
she does. You have to remember, because our Tilton Youth Associate program used to be 2 people.
Right.
When Martha left, she never brought on a second person. She took it all upon herself. And she gets a student, usually from Plymouth State,
Oh, great.
Like an intern.
Nice.
like an intern.
That's a
Sounds
good.
Sounds like the board really appreciates her, especially the comments this year.
She, yeah. She does go above and beyond.
So yeah, the rest of the information for next week, that would be good. Then we have time to look at it before they come back.
Because otherwise they can drag it on.
Do we make them come back, or we just make our
Well, that
decision
depends.
based?
It all depends.
Just the stuff.
What more
Yeah.
Then we can
questions
vote
may
next.
have.
Really, next week, we have the other 3 that are report, and then we're gonna have to just work on the town budget, see if,
That'll be fun.
Tim's gonna have to give us a preliminary because he likes to nitty gritty it all the time.
yeah, well, no, that's good. I like
He
that.
needs to give us a draft budget. It doesn't matter what the selectmen does.
Yeah.
The budget committee asks for a draft budget. He needs to provide it.
Okay, we'll make that clear next time.
But then the minutes.
It is required by law.
Right, right.
I think that's what he's working on.
Okay,
So next week you have the 3, and then the week after that will be the town budget. Is that the plan, or just discuss
we'll
the?
figure it out. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Just want to put it on
And
the
then we'll be
calendar.
off for a couple weeks for.
Yeah, the week after that, we'll
For
probably
Thanksgiving.
still be discussing the outside agencies and what we're gonna do with them.
Or not do with them.
Or the 6th.
Right.
Motion to adjourn.
My jammies are calling me.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Well, I think we're
But
all.
your heat's not
No,
on.
let's stay longer.
Let's hang out.
Let's talk.
Got nothing
more.
else to
Let's
do.
talk
Time for
golf.
dinner.
So Catherine, you know a Mike Boudreau?